People have always loved the word luck. It's soft, comforting, convenient. When someone wins, we say they were lucky. When someone loses, we say they were unlucky. It saves us from asking harder questions. But the truth? Luck is a lie. And I didn't learn that from a book. I learned it in the cold. I was born above noise, above metal clanging, above engines screaming, above men shouting at broken machines. Our apartment sat directly over a repair shop in Chicago's South Side. The windows rattled every time someone revved an engine too hard. The walls smelled like oil no matter how much my mother cleaned. I used to fall asleep listening to wrenches hit concrete. My father worked downstairs. He was strong once, broad shoulders, hands that could hold an entire transmission like it weighed nothing. But strength doesn't negotiate with fumes. By the time I was 12, he coughed more than he laughed. By 16, I knew the sound of his breathing wasn't normal. By 18, I knew hospitals too well. The same year I got accepted into college, he died. People hugged me at the funeral and whispered the same thing. Such bad luck. Bad luck he got sick. Bad luck it happened before college. Bad luck the insurance didn't cover everything. And for a while, I nodded. Because bad luck felt easier than anger. I gave up my scholarship 2 weeks later. Not because I wasn't smart enough. Not because I didn't want it. But because my mother couldn't carry everything alone. She cleaned houses for families who complained about granite countertops while she worried about grocery money. So I worked. Construction. Night shifts. Delivery driving. Every time something fell apart, someone said the word again. Luck. When the first construction company downsized and I was cut. Wrong timing. Bad luck. When my truck transmission blew out during winter delivery season. Man, that's unlucky. When my first real business idea, a small auto detailing service, failed after 6 months because I underestimated costs and overestimated customers, guess it just wasn't your lucky break. It became background noise. A narrative forming quietly. Maybe I wasn't meant to win. Maybe some people were chosen. Maybe success belonged to the fortunate. By 35, I had a resume full of effort and a bank account that didn't reflect it. I remember the exact night everything almost broke me. December. Snow heavy enough to silence the city. I was sitting in my car outside my apartment, engine off to save gas, staring at my phone screen. $12.43 in my account. 2 missed calls from my landlord. 3 unread rejection emails. And 1 message from the woman I thought I'd marry. I need someone more stable. Stable. That word hurt more than unlucky ever did. I turned the key in the ignition. Click. Nothing. Again. Click. Dead battery. And I laughed. Not the joyful kind. The empty kind. The kind that says, of course. Because when you believe luck runs your life, every inconvenience feels like confirmation. I stepped out into the freezing wind and realized I didn't have money for a tow truck. So I started walking. 3 miles home, snow biting my face, boots soaking through. And somewhere between the first and second mile, something shifted. Not dramatically, not magically, just quietly. I realized something uncomfortable. If luck was real, it had been consistently against me. And if it had been consistently against me, then waiting for it to change was insanity. Because I had been waiting for the right break, the right opportunity, the right person, the right timing, waiting like life was a lottery ticket. And lotteries are for spectators, not builders. That night, I made a decision. Not to be positive, not to manifest, but to stop blaming invisible forces. The next morning, I didn't send resumes. I put on my cleanest shirt and walked into 23 businesses. 23. I asked for managers. I introduced myself. I told them I was willing to start anywhere. 22 said no. One said, "We're not hiring." I went back the next day. He looked annoyed. "I told you we're not hiring." "I know," I said, "but I'm still available." I came back again and again. On the fourth day, he sighed and said, "Warehouse shift, temporary." It wasn't glamorous. It was lifting boxes in cold air, inventory scanning, back pain. But something changed inside me. Because this time, I wasn't hoping luck would rescue me. I was building something brick by brick. I showed up early, not to impress, but to learn. I stayed late, not to be noticed, but to understand the system. During lunch breaks, I watched logistics tutorials on my phone. I studied supply chain basics. I learned the software no one asked me to learn. 3 months later, the assistant supervisor quit unexpectedly. I walked into the manager's office. "I want the position," he laughed. "You don't have experience." "You didn't have an opening either," I replied. Silence. Then he leaned back. "You really don't quit, do you?" "No, I got the promotion. People said I was lucky they needed someone. They didn't see the snow walk. They didn't see the 23 rejections. They didn't see the nights I studied when I was exhausted. They saw timing. They called it luck." A year later, I was running operations. 2 years later, I proposed cost restructuring and reduced losses by 18%. 3 years later, I was offered partnership in a new branch location. And suddenly, the narrative changed. "You're so lucky you met the right people. You're lucky the market shifted. You're lucky your timing was perfect." Luck again. Always luck. Never discipline. Never resilience. Never repetition. But the real test wasn't business. It was my mother. Cancer, stage 3. The word felt like a punch. For a moment, the old voice returned. "See? Unlucky again. But this time, something was different. I wasn't the broke kid above a repair shop anymore. We had savings, insurance, options. She didn't have to clean houses while sick. She didn't have to choose between treatment and rent. We fought. Chemo days were brutal. I watched her shrink physically but grow emotionally stronger. One night, sitting beside her hospital bed, she held my hand and said something that changed me forever. "You've always been lucky," she whispered. I smiled. Because I finally understood what she meant. Not that life favored me, but that I refused to surrender to it. She survived. And when she rang that hospital bell signaling the end of treatment, I didn't think about luck. I thought about preparation. I thought about responsibility. I thought about every small decision stacking over time. Years passed. The warehouse grew. I started mentoring younger employees. Most of them blamed circumstances. My family never had money. No one gives me a chance. I just need one lucky break. I would listen. Then I'd ask one question. "What are you doing while you're waiting?" Silence usually followed. Because waiting feels productive. But it's passive, and passivity dressed as hope is dangerous. One employee, Marcus, reminded me of myself at 25. Smart, frustrated, angry at the system. He once told me, "Some people just get lucky, man." I asked him to come in an hour early every day for a month. No extra pay, just observation. We reviewed inventory flows, cost patterns, shipping inefficiencies. At the end of 30 days, he had identified 3 improvements no one noticed before. He got promoted within 6 months. People told him he was lucky. He laughed when he told me, and I saw it. The moment he understood. Luck is the name spectators give to preparation meeting opportunity. But preparation is a choice, opportunity is neutral, and discipline is repeatable. Today, when I look back at that night in the snow, I realize something powerful. If my car had started, I might still be waiting for luck, waiting for rescue, waiting for validation. Instead, I walked, cold, angry, awake. Luck didn't build my life. Repetition did, rejection did, responsibility did. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Luck is attractive because it removes blame. If success is luck, you don't have to try harder. If failure is luck, you don't have to improve. It protects the ego, but it limits growth. I'm not special. I wasn't chosen. I wasn't favored. I simply stopped outsourcing my future to chance. And the moment you stop believing in luck is the moment you reclaim control. So if you're sitting somewhere right now thinking life hasn't chosen you, good. Because that means you're free. Free to build, free to learn, free to improve, free to outlast. Luck doesn't wake up early. Luck doesn't stay late. Luck doesn't study when it's tired. Luck doesn't knock on 23 doors. People do. And the people who do, long enough, get called lucky. Let them. Because labels don't matter. Results do. Luck is a lie. But discipline? Discipline is predictable. And predictability is power. Your move.